Good afternoon, podcast listeners everywhere. Welcome to After the Bell, a Stunt Brothers production. I'm Martin Stubel.
And I'm Roy Hunt, and we share your pain, having taught a combined 70 years.
70 years.
I know, wow. So get out your marking, organize your supplies, or just pour yourself a coffee.
I think I need something stronger.
That's okay. And listen, engage, and interact with After the Bell, a podcast for you, the hardworking, dedicated teacher who wants free lesson plans, free advice, and a free meal.
Oh, I always show up for a free meal. Well, Mr. Hunt, there's the bell that tells us another episode is going on here. Episode 58.
Wow. That would be Season 2, Episode 28.
You're right on your hand again?
Yes.
You're getting good.
I wrote it on your forehead. I can see it from here.
What else is on my forehead?
Smeared.
Okay, great.
It's when you were sleeping.
Wow. Well, how's it going? How's it going?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. We're into March already. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Spring
is coming.
Spring is coming.
I know people are tired, right?
I've been into some schools. Right now, they're just finished up report cards. They're in the middle of parent-teacher interviews, and you can see
crawling
people
to the
are
finish
just
line.
Yes, they're exhausted.
It's not even the finish line, but crawling to the I don't know. What do you call spring when it's not the summer, right? So it's not the finish line, but it's just. They wish it was the finish line, I think is what it is. But it's expected. Summer is expected.
Summer is expected. And
spring is expected, even though, you look at the garden and it's still got the brown, the dark, and winter, just the doom of all that has been over us. But suddenly there's an explosion of growth. And I find that expected growth is just a lovely time.
There you go. And with that expectation comes rain.
Yeah, that's
because we need the rain.
We do.
For that growth to happen, and it does bring you down at times because you're like, it's good. The weather is getting better, and rain.
Yeah, it's hard
but
to know.
The rain's not as cold as sort of our usual winter rain. Yeah. It's a little warmer. Yeah. But it's still rain, and it's gray, and it's cloudy, and we can complain all we want, but that's to be expected.
It's to be expected.
Yes. But last night, there was something that was unexpected.
There was. You are correct. And I didn't even really register it until this morning when I heard people talking about it. I heard it. I knew there was a bit of a boom. Something went on around 9, but I didn't say it out loud to my wife or anything because I thought it was, I think someone just closed the car door kind of louder than usual. It wasn't like an earthquake that I felt a year ago. But what happened? It was something.
It was. Well, I've heard it was described as a sonic boom for some people. Yeah. And I've heard people describe it as an earthquake, that their home shook. But something entered our atmosphere.
The meteor hits the atmosphere and then becomes a meteorite and created a bright flash. People actually have video of it. And now I think over maybe Coquitlam is pieces of it. The rock has probably got particles that have fallen to the earth. So there'll be some unexpected journeys, right, to find those pieces. So it's quite exciting.
Yes.
But I think of spring, and I think it's coming. And I know people jump into it a little too quickly, especially in the garden. People start planting tomatoes because they see 2 days of sun. Winter, it could change tomorrow back to winter. That's the problem.
Unexpected part.
It is. So I think to help us get to spring break, we do one of our Manning Park sessions.
Yes, one of our summer sessions.
Yeah, we have one left, right, from the Manning Park sessions that we did at Manning Park in September. And it kind of fits with what we're talking about.
It does, because in that session, something unexpected happened.
Yeah, and it made us think about the uninvited guest, right?
Yes.
And having a class that could be where you're teaching and then suddenly someone comes in.
Something unexpected happens.
Yeah, so to help you get ready, to help you get through this last week, let's have a little taste of summer. The days are getting brighter, and let's check out our Manning Park session and have a little warmth.
Wow, that sounds nice.
Wasn't that nice?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Thanks, listeners. Let's go to Manning Park. Hello, Mr. Hunt. We are having another Manning Park session. So these drop, who knows when. This might be Christmas. It might be February. It just might be September because we had to be lazy. Oh, no. Sorry, I can't say lazy.
No, you can't.
I discovered that in the second Manning Park session.
That's
I
right.
have to say we're extra hard at
this
our work.
This
Sorry,
is extra.
I feel ashamed. It's extra. These are times that we got together. We did our little camping trip. but they might be dropped sometime throughout the year. So thanks for listening, listeners.
Yes.
We have this episode here, and here we are. It's nice because no matter what time of year it is, you get to have a little piece of September. The summer's still on. It's not, it's September 11th today when we did this Manning Park session, and the weather is beautiful. And it still feels like summer.
The mornings are pretty chilly.
They are chilly.
But
winter, as they would say in Game of Thrones, winter is coming.
Winter is coming.
Yes.
And so the temperature by the time we get to the afternoon is quite nice right now.
Yeah, we've had some good...
we've got a visitor.
The red squirrel has returned. So if you listen to a previous at Manning Park session, this fellow who's staring at my keyboard again stood all over my keyboard.
He wants to jump on the table.
And he did some sound engineering of his own, and that I had to figure out how to undo. And he's like... I would call him an uninvited guest right now.
Guest.
Right? Like you see the Stellar J over there? He keeps wanting to squawk at me because he wants me to feed him some chips. No, you're not invited either. And Mr. Red Squirrel, please go.
And
we're
the
trying to
only
record a
reason
podcast.
why they're here is because someone feeds them.
Yeah.
And so they come uninvited.
I can't believe how how close. Oh my God, look at him. Okay, stay back. That is just... We saw a red squirrel earlier who went for a little hike around Lightning Lake, and he was getting like bushes and twigs, and he understood to stay away from us.
Yes.
And understood how to forage for his own
eating organic food.
Yeah, this guy eats bacon every day.
I think so. Or bacon scraps.
And you're not invited, right?
So what about you? What could you bring up as... Have you had any uninvited guests?
I have. Interesting. Yeah, I remember a few years back, I visited a friend in Fort St. James. Good friend Kevin, if you're listening. I know he listens sometimes to the podcast. And I was visiting him, and it was a nephew of someone who lived in Fort St. James who needed a ride back to Vancouver. So I offered. I mean, I kind of invited, but I wasn't. It was unexpected, right? It was a surprise. And so he drove with me back to Vancouver, and then he stayed the night at my house. And that was kind of it turned out really nice. I believe he was British. He was a British man in his early 20s. He had been going to UBC for a special just summer session, but was going back to a degree to finish in England at the time. And it was quite unexpected. He was uninvited.
Uninvited.
But it was a really neat moment.
Kind of thing.
How about you?
Well, not that long ago, my brother and my niece were in Seattle, taking in a Seattle football game, Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
And Air Canada went on strike.
Yes. Yes.
And they looked for an opportunity to buy a ticket to
$10,000
get back into Canada, and it was not a price that they were willing to pay.
Right.
So they hopped on a bus and took a bus from Seattle to Vancouver.
Yeah.
And I got a call and said, "Hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Can you put us up?" And my brother has never been to BC before.
Yes.
And I said, "Of course."
Yeah, of course.
And I was happy to have him come. I was so excited for him to be here and have him in our home, and my niece. And it was exciting because it actually was his birthday.
Oh, perfect timing.
So he planned it that way. I don't know.
Yeah.
So we went out for dinner and celebrated his birthday. And then my niece, she has just recently become engaged.
Okay.
And so we had a little celebration for her. So it was really nice to connect with them. And then the next day I drove them to the airport, and they flew back to southwestern Ontario. And that was... my brother's always invited,
of course,
but it was a surprise.
And that's the thing; those uninvited guests can be a surprise, but it actually turn out to be great.
And I'm hoping next time that he comes, that he can stay longer, and we can maybe come to Manning Park.
Yeah, I have one uninvited guest that I'm not going to mention the name of, but my wife Charlene, you listen, you know who I'm talking about, and we'll just keep that one there. But that's an uninvited guest. That's a surprise that is not always so easy. Right? Have you ever had any, like I find traveling often produces the uninvited guest, or the moment where you stay with someone that was not expected?
Well, I guess I was the uninvited invited guest.
Okay, yeah.
And when I started teaching in Japan, the story goes, I graduated from Queen's University,
yes.
and I couldn't find a teaching job, and I decided to go to Japan.
Go to Japan. You were there 4 years,
I was there for 4 years.
Yes.
And so I was in Japan, and my first stop before I became a teacher with the Chiba City Board of Education, my first stop was a language school teacher in downtown Tokyo.
Okay.
And I could say downtown because why would I say downtown? Because it's a big town.
I mean, 30 million people or something, right? Is it not the largest city in the world, Tokyo? I believe it is, even bigger than Mexico City. Yeah. Wow.
So anyways, I was at the language school, and there was another teacher there, an Australian teacher, and we had our students and we taught. And the first hour when I was in the school, I taught this one older gentleman. He was a businessman. And so he had 1 hour with me. And then there was a break. And then he went and had another hour with the Australian teacher.
Oh, okay.
I go, okay, that was interesting. But, I mean, I hadn't been in Japan for very long.
Right.
And then he finished his class. I finished my class. I think it was like 4 hours. And then the gentleman, the businessman who had been taught by both of us said, I want to take my senseis out for beer.
Okay.
And I said, okay. Right.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I'm liking this.
And in
never
Japan,
had
you can't say no, right, to those moments?
Well,
Isn't that awkward?
I never say no to beer. So anyways, we went out. We went to an izakaya, and we had beer, and we had food, and we laughed, and it was great, and time went on. And again, I'm new to Japan, and I knew that they had an amazing transportation system. Of
course.
There were trains.
Best
and I
in the
knew my
world.
way on the train a little bit.
Okay.
Right? So I turned to my Australian teaching partner and I said, what time is the last train? And he said, oh, you missed it about an hour ago.
Oh,
I go,
no.
What? He said, oh, yes, you can't get a train until 5 o'clock tomorrow. I go like, what?
So what do you do?
I said, what do I do? What do you do? And I said, okay, I kind of have an idea. What would it cost to get a taxi to drive me back to where I live? And he just turned to me and said, you can come and stay at my place.
Oh, wow.
All right. And so, and it was great. And he ended up being a really good friend of mine after that experience. But, those
so
traveling
invited,
stories.
but it kind of for him, I was uninvited because it was unexpected and it was a surprise,
unexpected.
right? Yeah. No, I had a similar story in terms of travel. I once took a boat trip on the Volga River from Moscow to St. Petersburg. So 1993, which was an amazing time because the Berlin Wall had just fallen. Boris Yeltsin had just overcome. There was a coup, right? Gorbachev had been taken over by the coup, so it was like this crazy time in Russia, and it was a hopeful time, not where we're at now with Putin and stuff. So it was a very hopeful time. So I'm on this boat trip going from Moscow to St. Petersburg, and we dropped off, and we're in Irma in Russia, about halfway between the two towns, the two cities, and it's a place where they have a lot of dakhas, which is like the Russian country house. They have a lot of cottage. Think of Ontario and cottage country and that kind of thing. This is kind of like the Russian cottage country. So we got off the boat. We had all day before we had to get back to the boat. So we're in Dhaka country, and I met these two Russians just shortly after in their 20s. We were in our 20s too. And they said, oh, come with us back to our Dhaka, right? They didn't speak much English. We spoke no Russian. other than yet, right? But we went with them, and they got out the vodka, right? We were invited, but it was just a surprise for them, right? And I remember singing Beatles songs, which the universal music, right? The guy got out his guitar, and I'm singing, drinking my vodka with these Russians, and then the storm came like you wouldn't believe, just a massive thunderstorm and lightning and rain, and then this guy who's been playing guitar. He suddenly takes off his clothes except for his underwear, beats his chest and said, "We go dance in the rain. You too." So what did I do? I took everything off but my underwear and I danced with this Russian guy in the rain. And then I remember walking back to the boat after this, just like to me, it's one of the highlights of my life. And there's a double arc rainbow. Right? It was just this wonderful thing about this moment where I was an uninvited guest. I mean, a surprise guest. And then it has this moment that has stuck with me forever. So I think uninvited guests can be great, actually.
Yes. Well,
right?
and I think that's going to be our topic for this episode.
I think it is.
The uninvited guest.
Good. So we have our theme, the uninvited guest. I mean, sometimes they're kind of invited, but they're really a surprise for sure. And they kind of send everybody scurrying because what do we do now, right? Have you ever had an uninvited guest at school?
Well, I have a good story about that.
Oh, I like good stories.
Ridgeway had just finished their renovation and as a historical building over 100 years old. They did an unbelievable job in the renovation. And so when the position that I had at Ridgeway for a temporary time was to teach kindergarten PE.
Okay.
And, PE in my wheelhouse, kindergarten, not so much.
Yeah.
And so I went downstairs and I went to the classroom to pick up my students.
Okay.
And they said, "Hey, how you doing?" And, "Oh, good. We're going to go."
I'm Mr. Hunt.
And we're going to go. And then I was told that the gym was closed.
Okay.
And you're like, "What?" And I said, "Yes, the gym is closed, but you can use the library."
Right.
And I said, "Okay." And so the recommendation from the teacher was to read them some stories.
Not what you were planning.
Not what I was planning. Because I know deep in my heart the best way for me to be able to control the kindergarten students is through movement. Right. So I said, "Okay, I can do this." And so I took my students up to the library, and I wasn't given any books, so I had to find some books. So I found some books that seemed interesting, and I had the students sit down, and I was just starting to read the story to them, and in through the library doors, it comes the superintendent of our district.
Great, thank. Good timing.
Yes. And I said hi because I knew him. John Lewis was the superintendent at that time. And he said hi. And so I was hoping that was just the formalities would be done. And then he would get out the door. And he sat down in a chair.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. He wants to see what Mr. Hunt does.
Now, I'm taking care of these kindergarten students
who you've never had before.
I've never had before for 40 minutes.
Right.
And I'm a positive person. I'm optimistic that things will happen, but in my brain, I'm going, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be tough." So I started reading the first story. And I read the story, and I used my best voices for the characters in the book. And
you have a man teacher today.
I had them.
We were excited.
I had them in the palm of my hand.
Of course you did.
For the one story.
Okay.
And so I had
How long did that take?
Well, I'm not sure, but I reached for the second one. I asked some questions and there was no response.
Oh, okay.
And then I started to see that little wiggly, squirming.
You know the signs.
One student reaching out and grabbing another student.
Right.
And then one student getting up and moving around, and I'm bored. And I'm like, okay. And then I tried a few games.
Our teacher doesn't do this.
I tried a few games with them.
Right.
And they just did not respond.
No.
And so the superintendent's still there. I'm going,
he's still there.
He's still there.
Wow.
And so I looked at the clock. I said, I can't do 40 minutes and not look like I can't handle this class.
Right. Oh, the pressure.
So after, I think we're 25 minutes into this a non-instructional time for the teacher, a knit time we call it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, everybody line up. So I got them all lined up, and so we went for a little walk around the school.
Right.
And the superintendent was at the end of the line. I go, oh my God,
he was spending
come on, go away. And
wow.
And so
maybe he should go away.
So I went back, and I got to the classroom, and there was 10 minutes left, and
still 10 minutes.
It's still 10 minutes, and he was at the end of the line. And I remember walking in the classroom, and the teacher said, "Well, I still have 10 minutes." I said, "The superintendent of the district is at the end of the line, and I can't control these kids." And she said, "No problem."
Oh my gosh.
I said, "I'll pay you back 10 minutes later." And so she took them in, and so all the kids came in.
Right.
And I knew her well, and I had taught her children.
Of course, yes.
So I was in good hands. And she sat them down, and the superintendent came in and sat down with them. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Okay.
And that was
too
a
much
lot
time
of
to
stress.
fill. That is, and I think a lot of teachers can relate to that,
my
right?
gosh.
They've been in those moments
And he
for
was,
sure.
I would say he's the uninvited
Absolutely.
uninvited guest.
Yeah. No. I'm going to tell a story that it's not really about invited or uninvited, but when you talked about having to teach a younger grade that you weren't expecting to do, I do have to tell this story about when I platooned with this other teacher, and that's part of you're kind of guests in their classroom, right? Mm-hmm. And of course you're invited, but it's still, you feel like you are a bit uninvited because you have to show that you're really up to what you're doing, and you want to make sure that they are happy with the job you're doing. But it was the very first day where I was going to switch with this other teacher who was a grade 1 teacher. I had grade 5, I think, at that point, and I was going to do her PE, and I had not done grade 1 PE, and it's kind of like kindergarten, right? That's a different level. The problem was, Mr. Hunt, and I do honestly say this, and many listeners may question this, but it's true. It's probably the only time where I had to go to school with a really terrible hangover, right? It really is the one time. I don't think, honestly, I have ever had to, but I had been out the night before, drinking to celebrate someone's birthday, and I remember I think the name of the beer was the Angry Young Scots. And were they angry the next morning? They were so angry, and my head was just aching. And then I had to go and take these grade 1s and into the gym, and the sound and their energy, and I just felt uninvited at that moment. that was a definite challenge, right? That was, for me, a very uninvited moment that was uninvited to my head anyway, right?
Maybe the Angry Scot beer was uninvited.
It was.
Yes.
It totally was.
The hangover is uninvited.
I do not recommend that, and I have never done it since. But are there other moments like when we have people in the class that it's a surprise? Mm-hmm. Because we've talked before in previous episodes, this job is very lonely because even though you have 20 to 30 young little people in front of you, you're the only adult in many cases.
Yes.
But actually there's many times when adults do suddenly appear, and those aren't always good moments, or they're challenging moments, right?
Yes. We have our EAs who work with students here in our district.
Yes.
And I know oftentimes the EAs that we have, they're assigned to one student, and so that EA comes in the classroom. They're really the invited guest because
they're invited.
They're invited for sure, and we have you make a connection with them. Mm-hmm. You share your teaching style. You ask them about what they know about their student and how we can work together. But then there's times when there's no EA.
Yeah. And
then someone knocks on your door in the middle of your class and says, "Hi,
I'm here for so-and-so.
I'm here for so-and-so." And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of the things that we learn as teachers is that you kind of expect the unexpected, learn to be able to adapt to the changing environment.
Yeah. But I think the problem is with many of us, we have another adult in the building and we suddenly feel judged, right? And they're not judging you, right? So, not in every case. It does happen where you can tell someone, oh, they're judging me. But that puts a lot of pressure on people because classrooms today are not the quiet 1950s classroom of desks, everyone and the teacher at the back marking, right? So there's lots going on. So it's not silent. It's not quiet. There might be a kid having a blow up here or there, and sometimes people feel really uncomfortable when another adult witnesses that, even though that's just reality of today.
Yes, and it's not in your control.
It's not. It's not.
You can't control it. So, yes.
Yeah.
So then that EAs are working really hard to say, okay, how can we fit them in, find out who the student is, put them in a direction to help them do their job. And then, when you have a break in the time when you're not teaching, then you could work with them a little more and say, okay, these are the specific things I'd like you to do.
And I prefer it the way it was in the 90s and the early 2000s, when usually an EA would be assigned to a student, and that would be your EA for the year. And they could really develop a system and a rapport with both you and the student. Lately, I find there's a lot more movement, and it's all about the flexibility of the district trying to coordinate often a shortage in EAs, which I sympathize with, but I don't think that helps you as a professional in that class or the student when it's constantly someone new and they're working with different people, especially students with high complex needs. It takes 2 or 3 months to really get a handle on the program for that student and get a handle on working with the teacher in the classroom. So I much prefer when it's done that way.
What do you think about guest speakers in the classroom?
Because that happens, right? And we more and more so as we maybe get away from field trips, we do have guest speakers. And I always find it a little awkward when a guest speaker comes in and they're not really managing the class, right? And you're quietly doing it.
Yes.
So what I tend to do is I usually ask and I say, can I jump in here? If I see my class is not acting the way I expect them to, I don't just jump in and do it, because to me that right away the students go, oh, okay, Mr. Stubel's the boss here. This person in front here isn't really in charge.
Right.
So I don't want them to lose that authority.
Yes.
So I ask permission. Is it okay if I jump in here? And sometimes they'll say, no, I got it. It's all good. Okay, then that's fine. This is how you want the group dynamics to be. I'm fine with that. Or they'll say, oh, please, thank you. And they... great relief on their face. Right? How about you?
I like to look at the guest speaker as a facilitator.
Yes,
There's someone who's coming in and they're delivering a program. They're providing something for the students. So that's their position. That's their job. That's what they're doing. Their job is not to manage my class.
No.
That's for me. But I like to discuss that with the guest speaker and to say, okay, you just do what you do and you do well, and I'll do what I do do well.
Don't you find they kind of, you can see them relax with that because they like don't always face that situation?
Because the competence and the skills level of
you probably can hear one of the Stellar Jays. He wants to be heard.
The competence and the skill level of the speakers vary.
Yes.
And they agree with me. And they vary. So then why not do what what I know best?
Right.
Especially because I know the students best.
Exactly. And they don't know, all the nuances that have to be dealt with, for sure.
What about
parents, right?
I was going to say parents.
Parents can be a real challenge. I found, especially on field trips sometimes, where you have some parent helpers, and to me, an awkward moment is when their child is just acting out, not listening, and the parent's just like la-di-da-di-da-di-da, oh, whatever, And so you have to discipline their child in front of the parent who you're thinking, why aren't you just jumping in here? Like that, what do you do in that moment, right? Like that to me, I would not let the child misbehave, so I would deal with it, but... it's awkward because sometimes the teacher might get a real stern look from that parent, right?
Yes.
And so those are kind of that uninvited guest moment that could be really hard.
Because I've had a number of parents who, I had my go-to parents in the year. They go, oh, this one really
And you want to count
stellar.
on them. And
I want to count on them.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't get that parent. They're busy. And then you get another parent and you talk to that parent. There's forms and everything you fill out.
Yeah.
But I could remember one parent loading up her car with the students from my class.
Yes.
And we did the field trip and they came back. And only the students in her car, they came back with donuts and ice cream.
Yes, I've had that happen.
What? And they walked into the classroom eating their ice cream with a bag of donuts.
I know.
And the mom said, "Oh well," they said they were hungry, so I just bought them something. And I went, "What about the rest of the?"
Don't you think there really should be a code of conduct for parents, right? That lays out clearly, don't buy donuts on the way.
Oh my gosh! Well, even on field trips where I can remember some field trips where we had the parents. With the students, and we always had, especially when we were driving, this parent, these students, and usually it's the parent and the son or daughter with some friends in the car because you want to facilitate that.
Yeah.
But then we would go someplace, and then all the parents would get together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they say, I've done my job.
Right.
And I've done my job. All I need to do.
My job is done, and wipe their hands.
Let's go for cocktails.
Right.
And then you're like, what?
No, I know.
No, you're part of this. I need you to be here. So
the ideal situation, and I find it's harder because I found getting parent volunteers to become more and more difficult lately, right? I think parents are busier, they have less time. But when you had like a list of, say you needed 5 parents, and it was so nice when you had a list of 10.
Yes.
You could choose which 5, right? Okay, these are my stellar parents. These are the ones I go to, right? And like I've had parents too. It's the opposite of not disciplining your kids. So I had this one mom. Her big thing, I think she was a girl guide leader, and her big thing was, Mr. Stubel, it's all about the whistle. And she had a whistle with her, right? She said, this is the best disciplinary tool. And she'd be tweeting her whistle all the time at the kids. And it's like, that's not how I do things. This isn't what I signed up for, right? So those are definitely uninvited guests that can be a challenge in the class. And you just, ideally, if you have a group that you can choose from, choose ones that work for you. Mm-hmm. You just got to go with it sometimes and realize at the end of the day, 99% of the parents are so impressed with what you do for their kids. Don't let the 1% ruin it for you, right? Because they're the squeaky wheel. They're the ones that do say something. Just try to ignore that noise, right? Most parents are so appreciative of what you do. For sure.
And so the next one, thing I'd like to talk about are buddy classes. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that buddy classes are uninvited guests.
Hopefully Mr. Hunt doesn't just show up to the kindergarten. Hey, we're doing buddy activities today.
I think buddy classes add a level of social cooperation.
So important. I think they're so good.
Teamwork, responsibility.
I love when you get like maybe a student in grade 6 or 7 who was not a strong reader, and then working with a grade 1 level reader, and he could read. And it was always such one of the most joyful moments to see them working together and reading together.
Yes. So those kinds of matches are amazing. Yeah. With the buddy class, I guess it's the same thing. You're looking at the other teacher. Is this someone that I can work with? Mm-hmm. Do they have a way that if I were to give, for example, half my class to this teacher, and then the teacher will give me half of their class and the buddies, and then so
we'd often do that,
and that works out. But can I work with that person? Do they have the same sort of values that I have? And the kind of the respect that I show to my students, do they have the same kind of respect that they
when
would
you
show?
were talking about, though, you don't just show up at a class and do the I'm here to buddy class, but often as a April Fool's Day prank, I would actually have my class. They would just go in pairs, and they would be uninvited guests throughout the school. We'd go through all the class lists, and I'd assign 2 students for every class. And they would just show up at 9:05, and they would act like they were part of that class. They would come with their bags, they would come in with their coats, and they'd say, "Okay, we're here," right? And you'd get such a different reaction. Some teachers would go, "No, you're not in my class. Get out!" Right? But some would just play along with, "Okay, hang your bags up. Come join this grade 1 class, even though you're in grade 7." It was always, and you know why it was such a great April Fool's joke? Because for about an hour,
you didn't.
I didn't have anybody
in your class.
Yeah,
that's not April Fool's.
Isn't that brilliant?
Smart.
I know.
That's brilliant.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then platooning. That's to me another time where we're kind of working with people. We're bringing other people into the program. So have you done platooning?
I've done platooning.
We've done it together. You and I, for sure.
We've done it together in our career.
Yes.
And I think one of the most important things, what I love about platooning, is that you can teach to the thing that you feel best skilled at, or teach to the thing that you're passionate about.
Right.
I did science. I know that I did science many times. When we platooned together, you did socials.
Yes, yeah.
And so that was great. But in that platooning, it's about, again, do I feel comfortable with the way you're going to teach the program? Do you feel comfortable with the way I'm going to teach the program? Then there's always the how do you grade students?
Yeah,
and
you have to be on the same page and kind of work that out.
So it's not that you are uninvited. It's that you were invited because you had a skill set that I saw was something that would work with me, and I believe it was the other way around.
Yeah.
That and then we had that respect.
Yeah, and I did it the opposite at Mount Royal, where actually my last year before I retired, where I took this other teacher and I did science, and it was so nice. I would do science back to back, and then he took my class and did social studies, especially things like science. It's so nice if you're doing an experiment to have your room all set up back to back. And the next class comes in and you've made your science room, because our classrooms have to be so ready for anything. Art, science, math, right? That we often, oh my God, the setup and that kind of thing to get ready. So when you can do a topic, a subject back to back, it's really nice.
And I do like at Ridgeway, our principal would always, there would be guest teachers that would wander through the district. We had some guest teachers from Japan. Okay. We had some guest teachers that came from China, and they were doing the tour of BC, I believe. Yeah. But we were always asked first if we were willing to take this visiting group into the classroom. Right. So I love that heads up. I have had a few times where in my career where someone just showed up and asked if they could come in the classroom. And again, you just say yes and said, this is how I teach my class.
I think a lot of teachers have a problem with, say there's a student where they're trying to get a designation or some support, and then the district sends someone in to observe that student, and they watch them, and maybe the student doesn't show certain things when they're being observed. Yes. Or else the person comes and watches and makes all these suggestions which are like either unrealistic for a classroom, right? Yes. Or things the teachers already tried and they feel insulted because they just want the support for that student. So that's another kind of unexpected guest. That's a bit of a challenge. Yeah. And I also find with administrators, many of them will come in and say, okay, my theme this year is to get everyone to team and work together in platoon, right? I really want teamwork here, which is all very well. We all want good teamwork. Yes. But don't you find you can't force it on people? You can't force it. And I think it's a magical formula that makes a good team work, right? And I've seen some amazing teachers. They're far better than me, but I could not team with them. Yes. I just couldn't. They just didn't have a personality that would gel with my personality. That's all it is. It's not an attack on them. It's just like, I don't think there's certain people one can work with. That's just a magic formula that it's sort of a je ne sais quoi. It just happens, right? Sometimes. A je ne who? Je ne sais quoi. I don't know what, right? I mean, that's like one of our place names, right? Yep. Jacqueline. Jacqueline. So there we go. Unexpected guests, working with them. Let us know. We would love. Give us feedback. We'll put a question out on the Facebook page and on our website, stuntbrothers.ca, and hear some of your feedback.
Do you have an unexpected guest story?
Yeah.
Love to hear
are there some stories we can share in future episodes? Are there things we left out that you go, oh, well, how about this? You guys didn't think about this. Well, please let us know, and we'll make it part of this organic podcast that we have going
so
here.
We are inviting you to be a guest.
We are inviting you to be a guest. We welcome you anytime. And I'm looking around. Red squirrel has seemed to know his place right now. He's over in the trees, so that's good. Stellar J isn't squawking at us. And I think it's the perfect time to say an end to this Manning Park session and say, everyone, stay healthy, stay happy, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
This podcast is organic, taking shape with each episode. Building resiliency for teachers everywhere.
That sounds great.
And our website is stuntbrothers.ca.
That's stuntbrothers.ca.
We will chat again.
After the bell.